Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today I have something a little bit different from you. It's some highlight games from the recent 2v2 bar fight night. We just wrapped it up, at least as of recording this, and I was sent over these replays that feature some very powerful players, some players that apparently got up to some shenanigans that I'm very excited to see. So, happy to introduce our blue team leader right here. I mean, we'll meet all the players because there's only 4 of them in this 2 versus 2 format. But spawning as the Blue Armada commander. It's none other than Jamakis, who's going to be, I guess, leading the blue team. Really, 50% of the blue team here, headed up the rest of the way by Reed Sweet. All the way on the other side of the map, spawning as the red team leader, also as an Armada commander. It's Autopilot, going to be paired up quite nicely here with Praetor. Praetor in yellow going to be playing as the Legion Commander, and then green going to be Reed Sweet playing as the Legion Commander. So, for the format of this fight night, there's some things that you need to know. One of which is that the Hornet balance patch, which is enabled, don't worry about that all too much. It doesn't really change anything too dramatically, but it's important to know that it was turned on. The other thing is, of course, that Legion is enabled, and one of the house rules for tonight's fight night was that one player always had to play Legion, and the other had to play something else, so Cortex or Armada. So every game featured at least one Legion commander and at least one Cortex or Armada commander. So Jamak is going to be our Armada commander, and then Autopilot going to be our other Armada commander, and then Legion versus Legion. So the map today, one that I chose, and we did have quite a funky map pool, as you'll see in the very next game. We're going to do 2 games today because they're quite short. They're only 2v2 and they tend to end pretty quickly, but these were apparently some of the best games. Today's map is Krubic Plains, or Krubic? Yeah, Krubic Plains. Not Cubic Plains, but Krubic Plains. Anyway, already a Centaur going across the map right here. Centaur, the fast assault bot. It's a little hound body with a little cannon on its head. It fires a rapid burst of 3 shots and it does a huge amount of damage. Its only real drawback is that it's extremely nearsighted. And, well, it actually has a decent vision range, but its attack range is extremely low. Excellent scouting right here from this tick. Autopilot does scout that there's a Centaur on the way. Not really anything that tick can do about it, though. The Centaur would easily kill the tick, so indeed it just keeps on running. But it's good to know that that's headed towards your base, because obviously you can get something out to try and deal with it, whether it's some pawns or maybe a Centurion or something a little bit higher caliber in order to try and shut down that very, very dangerous bot. Tick's headed towards the base right now. We've got one red tick making its way into the base right here of the green commander, but we do have a Pharos, the light heat ray cannon laser tower. It's not a laser tower, it's a heat ray tower, which is an important distinction because it doesn't fare very well against ticks. It can tend to have a lot of problems. There we go. Centaur with notably low reload. Takes quite a long time to reload that cannon, but those ticks do manage to thwart its attack at the very least. The other tick making its way around, trying to find any purchase here. The tick spam across the map is already becoming a problem, though. Everyone, everywhere, getting aggressive all over the place. And coming in at 38 true skill and 58 true skill, we're definitely well into that professional level here. Certainly these players with the silver chevrons, well aware of how to play the game and how to continue playing the game. How to keep themselves alive long enough to continue playing the game, by that I mean. Wheelie's headed across the map here. One of my now favorite Legion units here, the little dual wheels with a machine gun mounted on top. They're adorable. Very flimsy, but adorable. Centaur charging in. LLT gonna be decent against it, though. Yeah, nicely done. LLT just barely manages to stay alive enough to kill those, but it is going to be all the difference right here because, of course, yeah, those LLTs, or rather those Centaurs, can do quite a whopping amount of damage in the backline. It takes one burst, or one volley from their cannon to kill a metal extractor, and basically anything else. That kind of gives you perspective for how much damage it can do to anything else. It's mass tick warfare over here for the red and blue commanders. Jamak is producing about 1.5 million ticks, and Autopilot keeping up the pace here as well. Goblins marching forward right now, trying to get into position. Praetor sending out a couple of Alaris, the fast assault tank, previously known as Hades, I do believe, or is the Hades still around, actually? Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Legion changes all the time, so it's definitely one of those things that might have been, might not have been, I'm not entirely sure, but the Alaris is very good. I guess you could almost directly compare it to the Centaur in the way that it fires a big burst of damage, but not necessarily consistent damage. Makes them very good against these early T1 units, though, because they can blast them down without really allowing them to snowball too hard. The tick balls finally colliding, and with the spread of red ticks, it looks like they're going to take the lead here. Yeah, nicely done. Excellent deflection. Cleaning up these goblins in the backline here is, of course, top priority. But shutting down those ticks is also really, really nice. Microing 2 different armies simultaneously. Always very tricky to do. And so far, yeah, I mean, 1 mech's going down for a whole bunch of goblins dead at your feet. I would say probably a worthwhile investment. Commander over here on the left-hand side for Reed Sweet, moving forward to grab all the metal extractors, by the way. Feels like the music has been very low this game. Should we skip forward here? There we go. We'll see how that works. Anyway, yeah, moving forward with the commander in order to capture all this. 3 metal extractors available over there, which is cool to see. We have 3 metal extractors are up and running already over here on the right-hand side as well. An LLT coming up just in case to try and keep all that safe here. And things are looking quite nice, yeah. Centaur very good against tanks too. Because of their high mobility, they can usually jump on top of them, especially these light tanks, but because of their high mobility, they can usually jump on top of them, and then their high burst damage means usually you can get them to kill 1 or 2 tanks without really any of them going down. The tanks rely heavily on that probing, kind of poking damage, whereas the Centaur are all about getting in and getting out, leaving a very, very explosive footprint on the way. Army's coming forward here. Praetor in a little bit of trouble. Misses the first D-gun, hits the second one, misses the third one, and the fourth one connects, and the fifth one connects, saving that commander's life right there. And I think we're going to wish those Centaur had stayed alive right now, as a whole bunch of Helios heat ray tanks do make their way across the map. I'm so glad I get to feature Legion. Seeing Legion go up, usually when Legion is enabled, it might be 1 or 2 different commanders. Seeing it be half of the team in each of these teams is fills my hearts with Legion-shaped joy. My heart's plural. I've got several. I've got an Armada heart and a Legion heart, all sorts of different hearts. Helios, making it into the backline here. Helios are a light skirmishing tank? Yeah, skirmisher tank. They do a decent job of getting into the backline and poking away and prodding, but they're not necessarily the highest DPS unit. At least as far as Legion is concerned. The Karkanos is going to be good enough to clean the rest of that up, so nicely done. Karkanos featuring 2 different weapons. They have one that's essentially a riot cannon pulled straight off of the pounder tank, and they've got this other thermal lance that they hold up high like that, and they stab away at people with it, and they can sort of poke over their tower shield. You saw their little head ducking down behind cover here. It's pretty cute, actually. Yeah, there it goes. Their head ducks down right when they get within striking range, and then of course they can poke away with their lance, and then they can defend themselves with their shield. They take reduced damage while their shield is equipped, but then as soon as their shield goes away, the damage goes back up to normal. Jamaica's on the front over here on the right-hand side, trying to push forward with the commander. It's actually really easily overexposed. Yeah, I'm a little worried about this commander right now. We do have Reed Sweet making quite a play over here. Huh. Yeah, walking his way underwater over to the left-hand side. It's going to leave these mexes available for Praetor to harass. I wonder if we'll go for the capture command. Yeah, it looks like we're on hold fire here. Indeed, going to go for the capture command to try and just steal the metal extractors rather than have to rebuild them. I like it. I like it quite a lot. Will Reed Sweet notice and self-destruct them? I don't think so. Yeah, he hasn't noticed yet. Lovely play from Praetor. Not losing out on anything either, because of course he's playing Legion as well, means that getting those slightly less efficient metal extractors doesn't really bother that commander all too terribly, because of course he has the same ones. Is Reed Sweet going for a play here? Okay, yeah, I guess trying to sneak around the back to maybe set up a lab or something, try and harass from the rears. Centurion out on the front line right here. It does have its own dedicated... Oh, Praetor in trouble. Centurion has its own dedicated resbot over here is what I was trying to say. Praetor cloaks himself to save himself from the encroaching Karkinos. Karkinos are looking around for that commander. They know he's around here somewhere. They can see the radar blip, but they can't quite hit him. Oh, there we go. They do start to hit him. Can we focus the beams? Nope. No focus on those beams. Goblins headed over in that direction to try and save the day here. Praetor, oh, barely making it out to deeper water. Just barely making it out, my goodness. Now firing torpedoes out of his missile array. One of the perks of the Legion Commander, of course, is that it fires torpedoes rather than your standard blue laser gun. Big old pawn engagement over here leaves the Centurion without really any room to engage because they're so slow. Once the Centurions start to build up in numbers and you can really start to cover surface area and you can really start to spread them out, then they can start to become a real menace. But until that time, you don't really have very much option. Jamaica's brutalizing the enemy over here, taking down a whole bunch of their structures and going to be setting up some metal extractors of his own. Wonder what we're going to be going for out of the lab here. It looks like just mass mace. Not the end of the world. Mace is very comparable to thugs in a lot of ways, but also they do have their significant drawbacks. A little bit of an APM stall here. An uncharacteristic APM stall from Reed Sweet, who loses a bunch of those goblins to the Helios tanks. A nice catch right there for Praetor. Blasting down those goblins, not the most expensive trade in the world, but any free unit you can take, you definitely should. Karkanos in a little trouble here as well. That shield keeping it nice and safe, though. Man, their shield does a great job. You can see as soon as the shield is gone, they're very, very weak. Those heat ray tanks doing basically no damage, and then as soon as the shield is blasted off, suddenly they do a tremendous amount of damage. Makes it very difficult to read the engagement between Karkanos and other units, though, because you're kind of expecting your units to kill it a lot quicker than they actually will, and until you kill that shield, it does feel like your units essentially have no purchase. And Jamak is in trouble here. Yeah, units starting to get a little bit of a surround. Oh, some beautiful D-guns, though. My goodness, those were killer D-guns, waiting for the perfect moment, lining it up and connecting those D-guns in a beautiful sort of triangular pattern right there. Wonderfully done. Blast down all those units and manages to save the commander. I thought for sure that commander was dead. If I was playing, that commander certainly would have been dead. Janus on the front, interesting choice. It's a vehicle transition. That's what that signals to me, and certainly to the blue commander now, who's eager to jump on top of these Janus before they really build up to big enough numbers, but already the time has passed. Those Janus are well and away under production, and because so many of them are now out on the map, it's going to be basically impossible to push into them without suffering immense casualty. A lovely play right here from Autopilot. He's going for a phenomenal wind turbine economy here as well. Reed Sweet finally making his way around. This has been a play in progress since the early stages of this game, and the base is ruined, by the way. I'm not sure exactly what happened here. A little run by something. Anyways, the reason why that commander maybe went for a little bit of a walk around. Bombers connecting with the base over here as well. They are Armada bombers, which is a little disappointing, but bombers nonetheless. Loads and loads of Helios tanks now available. Reed Sweet moving in. Janus looking for any connection they can find. Here comes the bomber again. Not really finding much value here. Yeah, I mean, all right, not bad. E-converters chain reacting. Wind turbines popping. Reed Sweet fleeing. Labs dead. And Autopilot in complete disarray. Just like that. A base for a base, I suppose. Frontline here in trouble. The problem with Janus is you have to push them or you have to retreat from them. But you can never stay still against them, otherwise they will pull you apart. So although this trade was not fabulous for the blue commander, it was as good as it was ever going to get against a bunch of Janus tanks. I guess I don't mind it, yeah. I mean, that force is significantly crumbled and there's no reinforcements coming. So I guess it's not really the end of the world. Reed Sweet escapes with it, my goodness. Autopilot not able to catch Reed Sweet and punish him for de-gutting his entire lab there, essentially. Means we're equalized, basically. Yeah, about 32 metal per second coming in for the blue team and about 24 coming in for the red team. Certainly a distinct advantage there, but not massive, not monumental, I would say. Resbot's trying to patch up whatever they can, and suddenly we're left with a green commander with one construction unit. It is a commander, but still, it's not much. T2 lab, is that what we're going for here? Maybe we're just going for some economy. Yeah, just gonna go for some E-converters and whatnot, trying to up that economy. We can always go for those T1.5 mexes, too. The Legion faction has access to a metal extractor called the Overcharge Metal Extractor, and it produces 1.5 times as much resource. Or no, pardon me, it produces twice as many resource, that's right. Twice as many resource, but it does cost 300 metal apiece, so very, very expensive to get up and running, and it costs 30 energy per second. So in an early game economy, it can be very difficult to actually figure out how to make that work. Reed Sweet, I think, looking for a position to build a LLT here. Yeah, not finding a good one. Maybe able to build just barely on the cliff side there if you really snuggle the commander up against the cliff. Not going to be super convenient here, though. Yeah, he's trying. He's looking for it. He wants to build up on that cliff side, but not really going to be able to. Reed Sweet just overflowing metal at this point. We've only got 3 mexes available here for the green commander, but all that metal that is available will be nicely handed over to the blue commander so that at least something can be done with it, and something, in this case, going to be a T2 lab. We've got a T2 constructor up and running. We're actually about to start overflowing metal here, so hopefully we start spending it. There we go, T2 constructor about to start progress. Gunslinger coming up and running. Interesting choice from Jamakis. Going to build a gunslinger, sending it out to the front lines, probably to be microed by Reed Sweet, I imagine. Transport has been handed over. Oh, are we gonna... Oh, I see. Are we gonna transport up into the base? Oh, how cheeky. I think that's exactly what we're waiting for. Yep. Retweet grabbing the commander. So we have the slow transports, slow commanders and transports, or slow transports with commanders. You can see very, very slow moving, but at the very least going to, yeah, lend you a little bit more mobility. Oh, anti-air. Ah. Just barely out of range of that anti-air. It's trying desperately to shoot down that transport, but just barely unable to. Okay, not the end of the world. Centurion now moving forward over here, but well outscaled by the amount of tanks produced by the yellow commander Praetor, who's put those tanks to work on the front line, trying to clean up as much as possible. We've now got a green army that's been reconstructed, resurrected from the ashes here. Both commanders clawing on to life here, on the brink of death, but managing to hold in there just barely. Resbots in a little trouble. Uh-oh. Resbots step one step too far, and they're gone in an instant. Helios marching forward, and that army has been cooked. I think maybe that could have been slightly more efficient. Oh my goodness, Retweet, you dog! He manages to get into the back line again. He must have transported in over on the corner over here where the AA wasn't looking and managed to D-gun down the entire laboratory of the yellow commander. Oh my goodness. What a power play here from Retweet. Are we gonna capture? Oh, there's no way. We are gonna capture. Using the capture command to capture these metal extractors rather than taking control of all of them. You can see Praetor trying to waste the time right here. Yeah, Retweet knows. He says, well, if you're just going to self-destruct all of these, then there's no reason for me to stick around. I'll just go ahead and blast down every single unit that you have. Wow. What a hilarious game winner right there. Again, not game winner, but a game changer right there. The Green Commander now put into a bizarre position where he's behind enemy lines and forced to try and deal with it. Certainly a situation of his own creation, but an interesting one to say the very least. Now we've got rocket spiders coming out. That T2 lab gonna pay dividends here against basically T1. And as that economy continues to scale, suddenly we're gonna find ourselves in a very, very different match. Oh, Janus tank's very scary. Oh, the Janus tank's very scary. Centurion also very scary. Able to kite commanders, actually, the Centurion is. Really, really scary stuff. Retweet needs to run and Retweet needs to hide. That Centurion has to clean up this commander. It's really the only hope there is. Oh, 2%. Janus fires away. Boom goes the commander in green. Finally cleaning out that menace from the behind. Very, very nicely done. Just barely managing to keep that alive. Oh, gunslingers on the front. Oh, both gunslingers D-gun. That's a bummer. Praetor tanks firing away. The resurrected tanks of Praetor, I mean. Rocket spiders handed over here. Trying to fire at this commander, but missing completely. Praetor in a lot of trouble here, actually. Rocket spiders do eventually manage to bring low that commander. An excellent snipe right there, an eye for an eye, and the rocket spiders do get away with bloody murder. Now they're going to be firing away at a bunch of tanks. They're essentially kiting them perfectly. Walking backwards as the rockets fire directly into the face of these tanks. It's exactly what we're looking for. These T2 units could have a devastating effect on the field. Webbers wouldn't be an unwelcome inclusion as well here, just to eat up a bunch of that wreckage, of course. T2 Constructor going around, though, and now starting to upgrade that economy. We're starting to see the difference right now as the metal, dependent on the reclaim a little bit, of course, but as the metal slowly starts to take its toll. Oh, Lara's doing a good job of forcing those spiders to fire at themselves. Janus also a high enough burst of damage to even contest the T2, and the spiders go down. Nicely done. A lot of gunslingers on the front line, and I suppose it makes sense. We are in the one situation that we never figure that we never see this in 8v8s because the tech tree moves so fast, but we're in the one situation where gunslingers are still viable, and it's when you're in T2 bots going up against T1 vehicles. Gunslingers have immense potential against the T1 vehicles. Their impulse allows them to stun the vehicles long enough for them to fire away a couple of shots here. Oh, we have to be so careful about those Janus, though. It takes, I want to say, maybe 2 or 3 Janus connections in order to fully kill a gunslinger. Means those Janus are very dangerous right here. It's an extremely expensive investment, those gunslinger. We have a bunch of platypus. I'm curious to see what we're going to be using them for. This is a great engagement, though. Yep. Gunslingers marching forward and firing away at a bunch of these tanks. Making sure not to get surrounded, making sure not to overcommit here. And then backing off and just healing up. Gunslingers have the fastest natural regeneration rate in the game. They regenerate their health extremely quickly, and they're capable of leveling up, quote unquote. Their experience grows very quickly as well, which makes them very viable as a assault unit, a frontline brawler. Yeah, they're called a skirmisher. I almost want to call them a brawler. Like, a skirmisher is a unit that I think of as like getting in there and just getting beaten up, but the gunslinger has a different kind of sustain. It's all regeneration based sustain, so it's a little bit trickier to figure out exactly how to counter that. Yep, you can see these ones just pull back, and they'll slowly but surely heal themselves up. Not so slowly though. I mean, that's not the fastest thing in the world, but you can see it's yeah, about 20 per second or so. Not bad. I like to imagine they've got a little backpack on or something, or there's something in those spikes. It certainly has something to do with those spikes that makes them so powerful. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's got to be it. Mosquitoes, built en masse right here. That's a whopping 21 mosquitoes, all flying their way around the map. It looks like they've been queued into the backline here of the blue player. Jamaica's building a T2 air lab at this point. Interesting. Maybe spotted those pesky mosquito moving around the map and are thinking of trying to engage those somehow in a fighter type of manner. Yeah, these gunslingers have traded so efficiently, though. I mean, I say traded, but none of them have died. They've just fought extremely efficiently. Now that we have the T2 units out and running, though, it really isn't going to matter how much those gunslingers kill, because yeah, there's way more efficient options in the T2 lab. It's really only while you're in the T1 era that the gunslingers can maintain that efficiency quota. Once you make it into T2, there really is not much you can do. The Green Commander has been without constructor for a long while. Here come the mosquitoes into the base. Now, not prioritizing what I would imagine here. Yeah, going after the wind turbines is nice and all, but is a really top priority. Yeah, these mosquitoes want to snipe the commander, but a simple cloak will keep that commander safe. And of course, a chainsaw built in the main base, going to be more than enough to blast down these very, very light T1 gunships. The nuclear bomber spotted here. Very, very tricky. Getting that nuclear bomber across the map and into a good position. But if we can manage to use it to snipe a commander, remember, each team only has 2 commanders total, and 1 apiece has gone down here, so we're just looking to snipe that very last one. There it is. Oh, he's moving in for the kill. He spotted the commander before it was able to cloak. We just need to deploy another nuclear bomb. I think he's going for the killing blow right here. Nuclear bomber wrapping back around, lining up for the shot. We need a D-gun. That's the only thing that might save you. Bombs away, and boom goes autopilot. The red commander, and Jamaica manages to close out this game with a nuclear strike from an Armada T2 nuclear bomber. Very, very neat stuff. Let's take a look at these graphs, and then we'll head on over to game number 2. Our second match of the day on a map that probably many of you are finding extremely familiar. Today, going to be playing on Supreme Isthmus, or well, today. It all happened on the same day. I'm used to doing my normal intro between these, but anyways. Today's spotting, or this match spotting, is the blue team commander. We've sort of swapped colors here, but it's going to be our Boreal Squid Uwu playing as the blue Armada commander, playing alongside Barcast TV, who's going to be playing as a green Legion, a green Cortex commander. This is a Legion commander, not an Armada commander. They look similar from the front, but that is definitely a Legion commander. You can tell because it's got a little anti-air rocket in its pocket. Legion commander for blue and Cortex commander for green. Gonna be going for that 1 mex grunt spam, almost assuredly. Way too powerful on Supreme Isthmus to be ignored. On the red team, it's gonna be Jamakis in red as an Armada commander and Reed Sweet in yellow as our Legion commander. Slower starts here from both of them, but both of them spawning on the front line here, and I think that makes a lot of sense, right? We played games as well. I say we, me and Nebuchadnezzar played games on this map as well, and there was a lot of interesting stuff, right? There's a lot of cool things that you get. There's a lot of cool strategies you can try, and the one that we tried to do was essentially to go for an early bomber rather than holding the front line, and I think it makes a lot of sense to rather lock down this front line, and then you just expand backwards using your constructors. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Jamaica's and Reed Sweet both pumping out units right here. Jamaica's going to try and get a Resbot out and running to try and fund some of this. But you can see that strategy working so cleanly right here for the green commander. You get those resbots out and you have them eat up trees so you can fund everything, and then as soon as you're done spamming grunts out to control the middle of the map, you can move those resbots in. There they go. Once you run out of metal, you just move them in to try and reclaim all of that juicy metal in the middle of the map, while the grunts that you produced try and keep control over it. Usually the only way to shut this down is to do the exact same strategy, and that's obviously difficult to pull off, but if you can manage it, it does reward you with control over, what is that, about 1,500 metal or so. Very, very useful. The hardest part out of this is figuring out how to make a transition into different tech, because you're essentially over-revving your engine, right? You're overdriving, and then suddenly you run out of reclaim to fund everything, and suddenly you're sat there wondering, well, wait a minute, what do I do now? And the answer, of course, is you cry, or you build some constructors and you send those constructors backwards. You can see the yellow commander doing that, sending a constructor backwards to go capture all those mexes. Retweet sending the calm forward in order to try and contest this midsection, but already these resbots have eaten up a tremendous portion of the rocks in the center. Very, very nicely done. Looks like we had a little bit of a pause there. Barcast doing a fabulous job of contesting this midsection here. Really, really nicely done. Resbots eating up tons and tons of this here. Oh, we do have some air shenanigans as well. Arboreal Squid apparently using this advantage meanwhile to go for some some air shenanigans. Gonna target down the metal extractors when possible, where possible. Interesting spread right there. I would have imagined we would have prioritized the mexes here. Only takes one of those martyr in order to pop a mex, so sending 3 of those to each base and just trying to go after the mexes would make a lot of sense, but not the case here. Either way, popping those wind turbines hurts a lot as well. Nice kiting right here from the goblins, turning this fight around. Once those grunts get within range, they're definitely dangerous, but managed to outkite them. There you go. Yeah, it gets the mechs for his troubles, but still, losing all those units definitely hurts. And now, at this point, the resbots have done their good work and can just move back, retire in luxury, and go ahead and just eat up a whole bunch of trees here. Arboreal Squid going to transport around to try and build a couple of metal extractors everywhere. Good stuff, good stuff. Both the red and yellow commanders expanding in different directions here. You can see one constructor headed back to the back line here to expand, and then another one on the front here, kind of expanding along the coastline. Neither commander interested in investing in ocean, or those those good old-fashioned boats. Both commanders going for these 4.3s though. They definitely desperately want them. Centurions on the front here. It looks like we're going mass Centurion, actually. An interesting decision from Jamakis. Yeah, just going full-on Centurion on the front line. I mean, I don't mind it. Centurion against Grunt, Centurion against Goblin, and Centurion against Pawn. It all stacks up to be efficient for the Centurion because it is such a high fire rate and such high accuracy that it never really misses its shots against any of those units. Makes it very, very powerful in certain circumstances against any of those. The lack of aggression here means that the blue commander is essentially uncontested for having gone into air. Lucky for them. But obviously, with more and more units coming up to the front line from 2 different commanders, suddenly Barcast is going to have the pressure piled on hot. Hot and heavy. We need to start trading, though, and the Centurion are what we're trying to put in front here. Centurion allow Armada commanders to do what they hate Cortex commanders doing, which is to fight command the units forward, and they'll just efficiently stop at exactly the range where they can hit the enemy, but the enemy can't hit you. It's one of the best feelings in the world. Efficiently microing your units, it feels fabulous. Centurion already starting to scare the green commander here. Helios tank coming out of a frontline bot lab, or frontline vehicle lab, pardon me, from the yellow commander, who's also going for some wind turbines in the back, trying to repair the damage that was done right here. One of the nice things about those Legion mechs is, of course, that they produce a little bit of energy. You get a little less metal out of them, but you get some energy out of it. And in times like this, that consistent energy production can actually be very, very useful. Suddenly you aren't e-stalled and you can actually manage to still set up energy production, like wind turbines and stuff like that, while you're not necessarily hindered from producing units and whatnot on the front lines as well. It's a lovely power to have. Helios finding an opening here. Just a couple of rocket bots over on this left-hand side to try and defend. Rocket bots, decent against tanks. They are effectively the counter that you go for as a bot player, but they have to be in the right place, and you have to have enough of them, and they have to be microed just about exactly perfectly. Otherwise, you just end up in a position where the tanks jump on top of your rocket bots, and I'm sure we've all seen how that plays out. Arboreal Squid going for some mexes of the enemies here, trying to expand in various different directions. Going for the mexes in the backline here as well. These air constructors, very convenient for building in faraway locations, of course, because they can obviously build all of the mexes all over the place. Oh, those can build underwater mexes. I didn't even know that. They can reach those areas a lot quicker, right? So you can expand the economy very, very fast. But as long as you're expanding the economy, that's all that really matters. Constructor idle in the back here. We'd love to see that cube to build maybe about 1 million wind turbines or something like that, just making sure that it's constantly busy. Centurion being repaired by the commander here. Another popular strategy that I really love. Centurion have so much bulk that actually repairing them means anything. Those heavy missiles from the now recently reskinned ballista here. Looking fabulous. I'm so glad that the Legion engineers have decided that style matters to them, and we now have these beautiful unit models. Whoa, Barcat's getting very low right there. 12% remaining on that commander. That commander detonating in the middle of this clump of units would be a nightmare. Centurion happy to jump on top of a bunch of rocket bots, sure. Very efficient trade right there. Rocket bots going on a tear, sprinting down the runway right here. Medium rocket bots nowhere near as capable of the fire rate that the Armada and Cortex ones can. But they pack a much bigger missile, so, you know, what would you rather have? Bigger missile or a faster missile? It's a tough choice. Debated throughout the ages. Certainly here, though, I think the Goblins are the right choice. No missile at all, instead going to turn towards good old-fashioned Daka, firing away at those rocket bots. Shutting those down quite nicely, but popping those E-converters certainly hurts. And, oh, we still have the air lab up and running. Interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that air lab. I feel like it's, well, it's not the end of the world, but it certainly feels like maybe could be a detriment to keep that up and running. It costs so much energy. Squid over here, by the way. Going to need to be addressed. Yeah, that's the blue commander, and he is on your turf, and he's setting up more and more mexes, and I fear that eventually it's going to look like we're going to be setting up a lab there, too. You can imagine a whole bunch of grunts or a whole bunch of pawns or a whole bunch of whatevers coming across in this direction. Yeah, it could certainly be trouble. The commander's without reinforcements, too, so it is worth remembering that commanders without reinforcements are really only vulnerable if they step outside of their static defense fields. Yeah, those heavy rocketeers, they're actually mixed in a big composition right here. We've got all the rocketeers being handed over to Barcast. I love that play from the blue commander. Lovely bit of teamwork. No doubt these commanders were in a voice call with each other, a voice chat, something like that in order to communicate more clearly. But I love that play right there, yeah. Handing over the units on the front line, right? I mean, this is a mixed composition of aggravators and ballista, so Cortex and Legion technology coming together to provide a very difficult force to push past. At least not without taking serious damage. Zoom back in and watch some of the fights. There we go. We have some barrages popping their little napalm cannons up and firing away here. Trying to find value wherever they can. The napalm effect, very good for denying area. Not so much for doing sheer raw impact damage. The Lances here firing away as well. The Legion railgun trucks. Quite sufficient for picking off single targets. Very slow reload, though. Jamak is in a little bit of trouble up here on the front. The commander's getting very low, and there's not a whole lot else out on the front lines to help with all this. Lance is very nicely breaking down that T1 static defense here as well. Lances with quite a lot of line of sight, just like all railguns have. They are capable of firing away at tremendous distance. They can see just about as far as they can shoot. The napalm here. A slow but sure killer. Melting down these bots very, very quickly, yeah. Standing in one puddle of napalm, it's not the worst thing in the world, but standing in a couple of globules of napalm starts to hurt pretty bad. Lance is missing a lot of their shots there is actually a little bit awkward. Arboreal Squid, come on, man. Build a bot lab. Build a vehicle lab. Build some kind of lab. Something in order to contest this over here. Ah, we are going for a naval shipyard as well. Going for some of those good old-fashioned Cortex boats over here, are we, Mr. Barcast? Trying to maybe get into some of those tidal generators, which are locked at 21 tidal speed, which is quite good. 21 tidal speed, definitely very efficient. I think it's just below the efficiency line to trade with fusion reactors. Not the end of the world, but certainly makes it a compelling case to start investing in those. Also, very cheaply made, of course. Spam out a couple of constructor ships and you can easily fill the ocean with T1 title generators, and suddenly you've got a fabulous economy. But the red team is continuing to bear down. It's just T1 pressure, but it's enough on the fronts that it's able to shut a lot of this off, yeah. Lancers now firing away at whatever they can. With proper line of sight, they're much more dangerous. Nicely done right there. That's the entire army completely shut down. Janus now firing away at Barcast. Ooh, Barcast commander getting real low. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Blitz around right here. Pops the green commander, sending it straight to the scrapyards. That'll be Barcast commander left in ruin on the fronts right here. We've got tons of production coming out now from the blue commanders, just spamming units to the front line, but I feel like it's too late. Yeah, it's far too late. We need heavy laser towers. We need pop-up flamethrowers, but the gauntlet, I'm not sure. The agitator, I'm not sure how that's going to help here. The vehicle lab under threat as well. Yeah, I can't even shoot because these units are hiding behind the vehicle lab. There we go. Finally firing through the wreckage field right there. Able to do some damage, but it really needs to put in some work if it's going to justify its extreme cost right here. If we could kill this commander on the front, if we could kill Jamakis' commander right here in red, I think maybe we could justify this push if we eat up all this metal and get a fabulous reclaim on all this. I just don't see it happening, though. T2 is already up and running right now, and we are getting those T2 mexes up and running here as well. I'm surprised we're not prioritizing the 4.3s, but I guess they are quite a bit riskier to upgrade, and the build power is in the backline here as well, so that's worth considering. With the blue production turned on, we are in a fabulous way. I mean, okay, yeah, we've got a spam of units coming across now. I think it's high time we invest in some resbots. A couple of resbots to eat up all this wreckage and maybe some constructors to build here wouldn't be bad either. We do have a... We've got a bot lab and some ticks over in the backline, by the way. Doing some damage to the backline economy right here of the blue commander. Oh, that's quite nice. Yeah, if we just pop the popping the geothermal is nice, but I'd actually like to see these moved around to take the metal extractors down. Settling for the Geo is totally understandable, though. Blue Commander, where have you gone? You've been transported back. Oh, you certainly have. Yeah, Blue Commander Arboreal Squid. Backing off the front line. I think that's the right decision. If you're not going to apply any more pressure over here, if you're not going to go ahead and continue building bot labs or any units like that, doesn't really make sense to continue keeping that up. Agitator here actually helping bring down a commander. That's pretty impressive, I'd say. Definitely putting that on its resume book. The Green Commander Barcast here, spending a lot of metal on this lab over here. Ah, I see. So we're going for a lot of constructors to build wind turbines. Okay, not a bad idea. That's a very, very cheap but a very efficient way of scaling the economy, especially on a map this this wind turbine centric. Going for destroyers here. I'm not sure that's necessary. Maybe a herring or two just to check around and see if there's actually any navy. The destroyers seem excessive, but of course they are able to shell away at the coastline too, which is quite nice. The yellow lab in a lot of trouble here. Yeah, not bad. Vehicle lab falls to the goblin spam, actually overwhelming the defenses. That's a big problem. Mosquitoes in the air to try and clean it up. Mosquitoes can definitely clean all this up, but it's not a super efficient fight because the mosquitoes will take a while to recharge their missiles. Not bad. Doing a decent job of cleaning all that up, and now the T2 are rolling out to the front line here. It's just sprinters, but sprinters are quite good, especially against T1. Destroyer getting into range of that metal extractor and finally popping that. I feel like rather than seeing the investment into wind turbines, I'd like to see the investment into tidal generators. Tidal generators costing a whopping... Hold on. Costing a whopping 85 metal per piece, whereas the wind turbines cost 45. So about double the cost for the, for the tidal generators. But you get a consistent 21 energy per second. A couple of platypus in the back line. Okay, nice little move. We've got the overcharged mexes back here, so they're a little bit harder to kill, but certainly not anything a couple of uncontested platypus couldn't deal with. Where have these come from again? Oh, they must have come out of this T2 lab over here. I reckon that's where those platypus had come from. The giant glowing red weak spot in the red economy right here is, of course, that massive advanced geothermal plant. Extremely weak. You can see even the goblins doing a significant amount of damage to it, but Of course, it's also extremely explosive, so if it goes boom, yeah, you're gonna be in a bad way. This is the explosive radius, by the way. The flashing red circle right there is everything that takes full damage from the explosion. You can see, yeah, it's quite a lot. Quite a lot. Not sure why they're, you know, packing nukes into our advanced geothermals, but regardless, they certainly are. Sprinter's trying so hard to hold the line. Welder's gonna do much better here, I think. Oh, they want that Geo, though. Geo in so much trouble. Boom goes the Geo, and it pops everything over here. Luckily, the build power just barely survives. And it means that we can still pump out some of these T2 units. Welder's trying to get into position here to try and help out. Oh, there's only so much they can do, though. LLTs, Welders, everyone and their mother trying to keep this all alive right now. Build power in shambles. Pop it goes. And now blue forces are in the red base. What a nightmare. The blockage on the right-hand side here is really neat, though. Those platypus did a number on the backline over here, but now that they've been cleaned up, we can go rebuild it all. Unlike over here, where there's still LLTs and whatnot to try and deal with. It means that the red team is still trying to figure out how to clean all this up. Build power in the backline will set up a little bot lab over here, so that's quite nice. Going to start spamming some bots towards the front, trying to save the teammate here. Torpedo bombers have been built. Interesting. Are we potentially looking for a commander in the water? Oh, we sure are. Oh, we sure are. Arboreal squid still hiding under the seas. Torpedo launcher coming in, and it fires in a pretty funny way. There it goes. Looking more like a gunship nowadays with the Hornet balance patch applied. I don't think we mean to target down that E-converter. Probably much more likely trying to target down the commander over here. Arboreal squid in a very, very dangerous position now. Pawns coming out of this laboratory way too slowly. Probably afford to produce Centurion at this point with a full-blown T2 economy and all. Squid wall cloak though. Not gonna be able to hit much of it. Yep. Torpedoes circling around where they think that commander is, but unable to actually hit it. Oh, there we go. Those are some good connections. Juicy connections against the blue commander. The green and blue pushing forward, losing ground. The red team on its last foot. Oh my goodness. Oh, the torpedoes connect. Oh my goodness. Commander is revealed. No way. Commander is just barely revealed and the torpedoes connect. It takes one torpedo to kill it at this point. No way. The blue commander goes down and they take the win again. Managing to snipe the very last commander while sitting on death's door, just barely stealing the win on what otherwise would have been a surefire conquering from the blue team. It's Jamakis and Reed Sweet in a wombo combo landslide victory. It's clutching victory from the jaws of defeat, certainly. As, yeah, every award goes to the blue team except for the victory. What a beautiful, beautiful set of matches. Keeps you on your toes every single time all the way through, and I absolutely love that. I think I should probably take a better look at this 2v2, 3v3 type format. I think there's a lot here to look at. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comment section, and I will see you in the very next video, Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.